8 things you never considered about learning French. Hi, my name's Chris from We Communicate. I specialise in teaching adult learners who want to claim French as their own. And the following list, I think, can save you money, time and disappointments. Money, time, disappointments, and a lot of it. So let's start. Number one, let's look at the terms. A lot of people overlook the fact that there's a cataclysmic difference between being in the process of learning French and having learnt French. Anyone could start you off, anyone can help you be in the process of learning French, but only a small percentage have what it takes to seal the deal. Very few can bring you to a place where you have learnt French. An 8-year-old realistically can help you be in the process of learning French. It's that easy. So it really means nothing at all. On a language level, what does it mean to be in the process of learning French? What you're really looking for, ideally, is a place where you can have learned French and can claim to put the major building blocks of French behind you. My advice to you, next time you sign up for a French class, just ask a question. For example, this new semester or this new bunch of 10 classes, where are we going with this? How many more semesters are there? Where's the finishing line? Number 2, confusing activity with learning, and this is a classic. Think of a chessboard with the black and white squares. Each square represents a different French skill, but not all squares have the same value. Random chit-chats, sorry to use the term, are brilliant at giving you the impression that you're doing something useful. I'm working on my fluency, for example, but chances are that your conversation partner or your tutor doesn't know the chessboard and isn't telling you which squares off the chessboard you're avoiding. And chances are that you're recycling the same French skills as you always use and are not really making any substantial progress. You're not going into any new caves of the French language with your flashlight, and you might not have guidance on which are the important caves to visit. So as a result, too many French caves are left unexplored, and you're likely recycling the same French skills over and over again. Activity and learning are two different things. Number 3, language maths. There is such a thing as language maths, and I should know because I invented the term. You book a 60-minute class somewhere, or a 120-minute class, but you're leaving with only a fraction of this. You're not leaving with 60 minutes of knowledge, and you're not leaving with 120 minutes of knowledge. You know, once you sit down, get your books out, look through the window, space in and out, you've lost a lot of time. These classes are slow, they're not strategic, and for every hour you pay for in a group class, you lose most of it. And you can check for yourself next time you leave that 60-minute class. How much knowledge in terms of minutes am I walking out with? I think you'll be surprised. Number 4, quantifiable learning. If you have a serious intention to learn French, you should probably be moving forward at all times. If after the class you can't answer the question, how much better am I than last time, we probably have an issue here. It means either you're treading water or learning marginal French skills that are getting you nowhere definite. Number 5, conversation partners. Again, fantastic at giving the impression of being in movement and going somewhere. And I'm not writing them off completely, but consider this. Hello Jimmy, how are you? Sorry, I've been late today, but it's crazy in the city here, but I've been late, but I am here now. Okay, but now we start the conversation. We start, if you are agree, you speak first. Okay, you've heard me speak English here. What would you correct if you had to correct my English? I'm your conversation partner. Where on the chessboard would you tell your French partner to go to improve their English, based on what you've just heard? And if you can do that, then bravo, because it means you're a born English teacher. Number 6, the size of schools. Oh, I've spoken about this one before. The question here is, what are the odds? What are the odds? Once a language school proposes more than 10 languages, what are the odds that the manager knows what's going on in each class, and what are the odds that they understand what the teachers are doing in these classes, especially if they don't know every foreign language that's happening under their roof? What if the Korean teacher tells them, oh yeah, but in our tradition, we always do the writing before the pronunciation, that's the way it works in Korean? What does the manager know about it? Not much. And the students don't know either, because being a student doesn't make you an expert teacher. You know, we've all been through 12 years of school. I bet none of us would be able to say, well, if I had been the maths teacher, I would have done things differently. I would have presented maths this way. Of course not. So a language tutor might be good or absolutely dreadful, but students don't usually know. contrary to what we might think, because they have nothing to measure it by. You'd have to suffer from a case of amnesia, go to a class, write your notes down, this is how we learn the past tense, forget all about it, go to a different class, write that down, and then come out of your amnesia and find your first notes and say, okay, based on what I wrote, this is the best class. I mean, you can't do it, can you? It's very hard to compare. Number 7, size isn't all. And I see this very often with the legacy schools, which is an affectionate term I invented to designate the big names in language teaching, the big names that are well established and that we tend to blindly trust as if they'd figured out something that no one else could figure out. I'll always argue until my last breath that size is the enemy of the learning environment. Why? Because the larger you grow, the more you have to standardize, or else you don't have a brand and all your teachers do whatever the hell. It's not sustainable if the management of the massive brand can't control what happens in the classes, so they have to standardize, which just happens to be in opposition with the creativity and elasticity of teaching. These two are polar opposites. If I hired a tutor tomorrow to represent me, do you think I'd tell them, well, just do what comes naturally? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you represent, we communicate, just do what comes naturally, do your best, son, try your best. Of course not. I'd standardize, I'd tell them, listen, you're representing, we communicate, you're teaching this way. That's the way it works in all schools. And once these schools grow, of course, they need to make even more profit, so they start to discourage people from taking one-on-one classes. It's as old as the hills, because financially it doesn't generate enough money. And number 8, and most importantly, your own identity. It's a thing we never talk about, your identity as a learner. Whatever your first language, you were born with a linguistic highway in your mind, a certain code and a certain culture. And if it's English, your brain has the highway code of English. And that comprises all the things that you consider are correct about language. It's what makes sense to you naturally. But now you're learning French and you have to learn a different system. Picture a circle. Half of it is English, that's your reality. And the other half is French. That's the reality of your French teacher. If they don't know your reality, as a native speaker of English, they're missing most of what makes you a learner. Unless your French teacher is also a native speaker of English and also knows English on a technical level, as English teachers do, they cannot and do not know your side of the narrative. They just don't. They'll simply never be at that sufficient level to be able to catch each of your mistakes and to teach you according to your culture. It's not completely useless to learn in this way, of course not. We would have noticed a long time ago, or the French schools in France would have closed. But it's hard enough, I figure, to learn French without this extra burden, without this extra obstacle. So you might as well do without it. So in sum, your identity as a learner, cultural, linguistic, matters a lot more than you might think. These were 8 things that you never considered about learning French, or if you did consider them, perhaps you can tell me in the comments. My name is Chris from We Communicate, and you can avoid all these problems by taking French classes here. See you soon.